I bought a Vermeer 620, 1991 from the City of Arkansas Water and Sewer, and needs a little bit of work. So I've taken it apart. The probably biggest part I've had, obviously it's cleaning up everything, repainting since it's been 30 some odd years. Getting the feed motor out, not a problem, but getting these bolts out was probably the hardest part because about half of them snapped off because they were so rusted shut. So if you're taking those off, be aware. I tried welding them to get them out and ended up drilling. They're 5/16, 18 bolts, and I finally gave up on trying to weld them, so I just drilled them out and put 3/8 bolts instead. The flywheel, 200 some odd pounds of pure steel love. I took out the shaft too. When you're taking this out, this bolt on this side is reverse thread, so it's righty loosey, lefty tighty. And take a note at the spacing here. Once that's tight, this spacing here is going to be important for the bearings. I'll show you in a second. Other side, same. Shaft was in moderate okay condition. New bolts and new nuts as well. All grade 8, obviously. There's a lot of pressure on this guy. The cutters, or the actual blades, are out. Getting new hoses, those are shot. So these are the bearings that hold up the flywheel or disc. And these are what they call insert bearings. And you don't need to go buy the whole thing. Somewhere I saw someone was talking about getting a replacement for an upgrade. These just slide out, right? And you put in new ones. So you can certainly go buy new housing, but the housing is expensive. The bearings I looked at for this one, for the flywheel, I came up with the Triton, which is sold by Granger. Don't get this one, not because it's bad, but because the size doesn't fit. You'll notice here, they've got that lip on the Triton one. The original one is flat. And that lip is obviously what's gonna kill you on this side. It'll work on the other side, but when you put it in here, it's just too big. You're not gonna have enough meat here to grab on with the eccentric collar once you tighten it. The other ones that do fit, SKF. This is the one that will fit there. It's a GRA 108 RRB. Same model number, is made by Timken. The Timken bearing, this is the SKF bearing here. The issue with one of these is grease holes. So there's one grease hole there, and then there's another grease hole on the opposite side. So the grease hole obviously comes in top here. So you need to have some way for this thing to get grease. The original bearing only has a grease hole on one side, opposite the eccentric side, right? The Triton has their grease holes on the eccentric side. So on top of the fact that it's too wide, the grease holes are on the wrong side, so this one wouldn't work. The Timken has grease holes on both on the correct side, but it's a little thinner than this one. And the SKF only has one grease hole on the right side, one there. No, sorry, that's the wrong side. We went on the eccentric side. There's the one for the eccentric side, but they've also got an additional one on the other side right here. So it's kind of a trade-off. Do you want the wider face on the outside of the bearing, or do you want two grease holes with a little thinner face? Two grease holes a little thinner, get the Timken. Wider with one grease hole, get the SKF. Then on to the bearings for the feed roller. These I got Timkens. These are RA103 RRB2s, and same thing, they're eccentric, which means once you put that on, and it's a quick tutorial on eccentrics, you tighten these guys in the way of the rotation. So here's the feed roller, it spins this way. So on this side here, you're gonna turn it to the left because you're turning that direction. And that's what this hole here is for. You put a little something in there, tap it really hard to the left, and then once it's done to the left, you use the set screw and tighten it. The opposite side, however, is just, you think the opposite, right? So it's still turning this way, but now this time, you're gonna turn this one to the right. So turn this one to the right, put a little screwdriver or something, hammer that into the right till it's tight, and then you tighten that set screw. These bearings are wheel bearings, just standard. I think they're 1-inch shaft, BR14. You got 4 of those. You obviously need 2 of these. Here's the old one, pretty ratty. So you need 2 of the big bearings, 2 of these, 4 of these. Then for the idler pulley, I thought I was really clever and found a new replacement that's Stearns, but unfortunately this does not fit in the housing. It is just exactly the right size rather, which means that any rotation would be wearing on that. So I ended up taking this one apart and just putting in a new bearing. This is the new bearing. It's a 203 KRR2, and you can tell it's just a little whiter on the inside than the outside. And then I just got my grinder out, ground out the rivets. I'm gonna do a light touch of paint on the inside, and then bolt it back together or find some steel rivets. Definitely not aluminum for this thing once I put the bearing inside. Finally, onto the hydraulics. This is the hydraulic motor, the pump rather, that's connected to the gasoline engine with this guy. That's a replacement part from Woods for this guy, this sleeve that connects the engine to the pump. And the pump is a Sauer, it's a BDP 10L. I'm gonna rebuild that. You can get parts for that pretty much easily. That's the BDP 10L is pretty common. It's just a bunch of O-rings. And then there's some other metal parts you want to check for wear in here as well. The actual motor, the hydraulic motor that turns the feed roller, is the Charlin. It's a 103 2407-010. Again, just hydraulics in there. And the rest of the parts, I got the actual motor here. I got to rebuild it. Haven't done anything to it yet. And then for the remaining parts, they're all just getting painted. And the only part really that was any issue there was the gas tank. The gas tank was all rusted on the inside, so I got to de-rust that and then put in a sealer after I get all the rust out. The feed on that side is hard welded in, and it's a steel pipe all the way down. So you can't just put it in a flex pipe, which is what I've seen on the Bobcats do with a filter to make it easier. That guy's hardwired in, so there's no way to really get it out. So you just got to unrust the thing chemically or use something else and then seal it, and then you're back in business.